I want a divorce. The entire cathedral went silent. Prayers stopped. Conversations froze. Even the priest turned. Ella Ramirez, 8 months pregnant, stared at her husband, Diego, as he stood beside his parents' caskets. He didn't lower his voice. He didn't wait for privacy. He didn't care who was watching. Sign the papers, now. And like he'd rehearsed it, Diego's lawyer stepped forward, divorce documents already in hand, prepared, printed, waiting. It was clear Diego planned this. He chose his parents' funeral on purpose. Ella's hands shook as she reached for the pen. Forced into this marriage, ignored, mistreated, unloved, and now publicly discarded while carrying his child. But here's what Diego didn't know. In 5 minutes, during the will reading, Ella would find out a secret that would flip the entire room upside down. The empire Diego believed he'd inherit, the billion-dollar fortune he thought was guaranteed, it wasn't left to him. And the second Diego realized it, the look in his eyes changed from cold to dangerous. This is the story of how a woman humiliated at a funeral walked out with more power than anyone in that room, and how the man who tried to destroy her ended up destroying himself instead. Hit that subscribe button and let's begin. 2 years and 3 months earlier, Ella Ramirez sat in her corner office on the 15th floor of a building she'd leased with her own money, reviewing quarterly projections that proved, once again, that her consulting firm was outperforming every forecast. She was 25 years old, self-made, successful, and absolutely exhausted. Not from work. Work energized her. Work made sense. Work had clear goals, measurable outcomes, and rewards that matched effort. No, the exhaustion came from something else entirely. Something that had been hovering over her life like a storm cloud since she was 7 years old. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Sunday dinner, 6 p.m. Don't be late. We need to talk. Ella's stomach tightened. She knew what "we need to talk" meant. It meant the same thing it had meant for the past 3 months, ever since her parents found out she was dating Liam Carter. It meant they were going to bring up Diego Alvarez again, the man whom she was apparently destined to marry, whether she wanted to or not. A month after forcing her to break up with Liam, she walked down an aisle in a dress she didn't choose, toward a man she barely knew, while her family watched with satisfaction and relief. Diego Alvarez stood at the altar, tall, handsome, and radiating barely concealed resentment. When they were pronounced husband and wife, his kiss was perfunctory, cold, and empty of anything resembling affection. At the reception, he pulled her into a private corner. "Let's be clear," he said, his voice low and hard. "This is a business arrangement. My parents cut me off until I agreed to go through with this charade. I don't love you. I don't even particularly like you. We'll live separate lives, maintain appearances for our families, and stay out of each other's way. Understood?" Ella stared at this man who was now legally her husband and felt something inside her break. "Understood," she whispered. Across the room, Sophia watched her sister's face crumble and leaned toward Miguel. "We should have fought harder for her." Miguel's jaw tightened. "I know." The marriage that followed was exactly as Diego promised. Cold, distant, separate. He spent his days burning through his parents' money on failed ventures. She threw herself into her company, working longer hours, taking on more clients, finding purpose in the only thing she could control. Sophia visited with pastries and sympathy. Miguel took her out for dinners that felt like rescue missions. Her parents seemed satisfied that honor had been preserved, never acknowledging the prison they'd forced their daughter into. 2 years passed in this frozen wasteland of a marriage. And then, one morning, Ella woke up feeling different. Sick, tired, strange. She took a test. Positive. She stared at those 2 lines for 20 minutes, emotions warring inside her. Terror, anger, and, unexpectedly, hope. Maybe this baby could bring purpose to this nightmare. Maybe motherhood could give her something real in this hollow existence. She told Sophia first, crying in her sister's apartment while Sophia held her. Maybe this changes things, Ella whispered. Maybe a baby is what this marriage needs. Sophia stroked her hair, saying nothing, but her expression was worried. What neither of them knew was that Diego's parents had just updated their will after they heard the announcement, and Diego's plan had a plan in motion. The call came at 2:47 in the morning. Ella was already awake. 8 months pregnant made sleep nearly impossible. When her phone lit up the darkness, an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her reach for it. "Mrs. Alvarez?" A woman's voice, professional but strained. "This is Memorial Hospital. There's been an accident involving your in-laws, Mr. and Mrs. Alvarez. I'm very sorry, but they didn't survive. We need you to come identify." The phone slipped from Ella's hand. Diego's parents. Dead? Despite everything. The cold marriage, the arrangement, the 2 years of isolation. Diego's parents had been kind to her. His mother would call sometimes just to check in, to ask about the baby, to share recipes and stories. His father would smile warmly at family dinners, treating Ella with a respect his son never showed. And now they were gone. Ella called Diego. It went straight to voicemail. She called again and again. Finally, she called Miguel. Her brother arrived within 20 minutes, Sophia close behind. They drove to the hospital together, Ella sandwiched between them in the back seat, Miguel's hand gripping hers while Sophia stroked her hair. "Have you reached Diego?" Miguel asked. "No, he's not answering." Miguel's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. At the hospital, they learned the details. A drunk driver, running a red light, had an immediate impact. Diego's parents died on the scene. The other driver survived with minor injuries. "Where's Diego?" the hospital administrator asked. "We don't know," Ella admitted, feeling strangely embarrassed. What kind of wife couldn't reach her husband at a time like this? They tried calling him 17 more times over the next 3 hours. He finally answered at dawn. "I know," was all he said. His voice was flat, emotionless. "I'm handling the arrangements." "Diego, I'm so sorry." "The funeral is on Thursday. Be there." He hung up. Sophia stared at Ella. "Did he just hang up on you?" "His parents just died," Ella said quietly, though even she didn't believe the excuse. "He's in shock." Over the next 3 days, Diego remained unreachable. He didn't come home, not that he spent much time there anyway. He didn't return calls. He communicated only through his assistant, who provided Ella with funeral details in clipped, professional tones. The funeral was scheduled for Thursday at 11 a.m. Full Catholic service. Major media coverage expected. The Alvarez family was prominent, and their sudden deaths were already headlining news. "Wear black," the assistant said. "Conservative. Diego will meet you there." "Meet me there?" Ella repeated. "We're married. Shouldn't we—" "Those are Mr. Alvarez's instructions, Mrs. Alvarez." The line went dead. Sophia helped Ella pick out an appropriate dress. Black, modest, designed to accommodate her pregnant belly. Miguel arranged security, insisting on having people there just in case. "In case of what?" Ella asked. "I don't know," Miguel admitted, "but Diego's behavior is concerning. He should be with you right now. Instead, he's—" "What? Avoiding his pregnant wife during his parents' funeral arrangements?" "It's wrong, Ella." Their father, Ricardo, agreed. "Miguel's right. Something isn't sitting well with me." Thursday morning arrived gray and cold. Ella rode to the cathedral with her family, her hands protectively over her belly. The baby had been active all morning, kicking and rolling, as if sensing her anxiety. The cathedral was packed. Politicians, business leaders, society figures, everyone who mattered in their world had come to pay respects. Cameras lined the streets outside. Security was tight. Ella spotted Diego near the front, standing beside the 2 closed caskets. He wore an immaculate black suit and was deep in conversation with a man she didn't recognize. Expensive suit, leather briefcase, the unmistakable bearing of a lawyer. Miguel noticed too. "Who's that?" "I don't know." As Ella approached, Diego's eyes flickered toward her, then away, cold, dismissive. "Diego," she said softly, reaching for his arm. "I'm so sorry." He pulled away. "Take your seat." The man beside him, definitely a lawyer, smiled thinly. "Mrs. Alvarez, my condolences." "Thank you, but I don't believe we've met?" "Jonathan Pierce, legal counsel." He didn't elaborate on what kind of legal counsel or for whom. The service began before Ella could ask more questions. She sat in the front row with her family, Diego several seats away, that same lawyer hovering nearby like a shadow. Sophia leaned close. "Why isn't he sitting with you?" "I don't know." Throughout the service, Ella noticed Diego checking his watch. Not once or twice, but constantly. Every few minutes, his eyes would flick to his wrist, then to the lawyer, then back to the priest. Miguel noticed too. He leaned across Sophia to whisper, "Something's wrong. Diego looks prepared, like he's waiting for something." "Prepared for what?" Miguel's face was grim. "I don't know, but I don't like it." The eulogies were beautiful. Friends and family spoke about the elder Alvarez's generosity, their business acumen, and their devotion to family. Several people mentioned their excitement about meeting their first grandchild, and Ella felt tears streaming down her face. They had been looking forward to Lucas. They'd already set up a nursery at their house, bought toys, and talked about the kind of grandparents they wanted to be. And now, they'd never meet him. As the final prayer concluded, Diego stood abruptly. The timing was wrong. There were still closing remarks to be made. But Diego turned, facing the assembled mourners, and Ella felt her stomach drop. This was what he'd been waiting for. "Before we conclude," Diego said, his voice carrying through the cathedral's acoustics, "there's something that needs to be addressed." The priest looked confused. "Mr. Alvarez, perhaps after—" "No, now." Diego's eyes found Ella, cold, hard, furious. "I want a divorce." The entire cathedral went silent. Prayer stopped. Conversations froze. Even the priest turned, mouth open in shock. Ella couldn't breathe, couldn't move. 8 months pregnant, surrounded by hundreds of people staring at her husband as he stood beside his parents' caskets and demanded a divorce. "Diego, what are you— Your parents just died." "Sign the papers, now." He gestured, and Jonathan Pierce, the lawyer who'd been shadowing him all morning, stepped forward with documents already prepared. Prepared. Printed. Waiting. It was clear. Diego planned this. He chose his parents' funeral on purpose. "You can't do this!" Sophia's voice rang out as she jumped to her feet. "You can't do this to her now." "Stay out of this," Diego snarled. Miguel was already moving, positioning himself between Diego and Ella. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "What's wrong is that I've been trapped in a sham marriage for 2 years, and my parents' death has finally freed me from that obligation." Diego's voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Every word is calculated for maximum humiliation. "Sign the papers, Ella, or I'll make this much worse for you. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of woman you really are." "What kind of— Diego, I don't understand." "Don't you?" His smile was cruel. "The desperate woman who married into money, who manipulated my dying parents, who probably planned this pregnancy to trap me." Gasps rippled through the cathedral. Cameras flashed outside. This was being recorded, witnessed, by everyone. Ella felt Miguel's hands on her shoulders, steadying her as her knees buckled. "That's not true," she whispered. "None of that is true. Sign the papers." Pierce held them out, pen ready. Ella's mother appeared beside her, wrapping an arm around her daughter. Her father was already on his phone, presumably calling their lawyer. But what could anyone do? Diego was creating a scene, and the longer it went on, the worse it would get. Mija, you don't have to, her mother began. Yes, she does, Diego interrupted. Unless she wants me to tell everyone about her little affair with Liam Carter during our marriage. That's a lie, Sophia shouted. She broke up with Liam before. Can you prove that? Diego's smile was vicious. Because I have evidence that says otherwise. Text messages, photos, witness statements. So, unless Ella wants her reputation destroyed along with this marriage, she'll sign. It was all lies. Ella knew it was a lie. But the threat was clear. Refuse, and he'd destroy her publicly. With his resources, his connections, his willingness to fabricate evidence, he could do it. Her hands shook as she reached for the pen. Ella, no, Miguel said urgently. Don't sign anything without our lawyer reviewing. I just want this to end, Ella whispered. Tears streamed down her face. Her pregnant belly pressed against the edge of the pew. Hundreds of people watched as she signed away her marriage on top of a hymnal in front of her in-laws' caskets. The second she finished, Diego snatched the papers away. We're done. Get out. Diego! I said get out of my parents' funeral. Miguel's face went dark with rage. You son of a... Miguel, don't... Ella grabbed her brother's arm. She couldn't bear for this to escalate further. She just wanted to disappear. But as she turned to leave, a new voice cut through the chaos. Wait. An older man stepped forward from the front row. Someone Ella recognized as Edmund Harrington, the Alvarez family's longtime lawyer. His expression was grave. Since this is happening now, the will must be read. Mrs. Alvarez... He paused, glancing at the divorce papers. Former Mrs. Alvarez must stay. It's required by law when there are special circumstances. Diego's triumphant expression flickered. What special circumstances? The will specifies that it must be read in the presence of all named beneficiaries. That includes your ex-wife. She's not a beneficiary. Please sit down, Mr. Alvarez. All of you. Harrington's tone was firm, authoritative. This wasn't a request. A small circle formed with only family members. Ella sank into her seat, utterly confused. Why would she be named in the debate? Will? Diego's parents had been kind, but surely they hadn't left her anything significant. Maybe a small personal item? A piece of jewelry? Diego remained standing, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. But Harrington was already opening his briefcase, removing a thick envelope sealed with the Alvarez family crest. The last will of Robert and Maria Alvarez, he began formally. The cathedral was so quiet, Ella could hear her own heartbeat. Harrington read through the standard legal language, then reached the section on asset distribution. His voice carried clearly through the space, and what he said next would change everything. To our son, Diego Alvarez, we leave the sum of $100 million, along with the following message. He paused, pulling out a separate letter. Diego, we have always loved you, but we cannot ignore the pattern of failures and poor decisions that have marked your adult life. 5 businesses were destroyed through mismanagement and excess. Promises broken. Potential wasted. We hope this inheritance will allow you to finally become the man we raised you to be. Learn from your mistakes. Grow. Change. We believe in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. The cathedral was completely silent. Diego's face had gone pale. However, Harrington continued, and his voice took on a different weight. The remainder of the Alvarez estate, including all business holdings, real estate, investments, and liquid assets totaling approximately $1.2 billion, is bequeathed to the unborn child of Diego Alvarez and Ella Ramirez. Time seemed to stop. Ella couldn't process what she'd just heard. Billion? Her son? Furthermore, Harrington read, his voice steady despite the shocked murmurs beginning to ripple through the crowd. Ella Ramirez Alvarez is named as sole trustee and legal guardian of all assets until her son reaches the age of 25. She will have complete authority over all business decisions, investments, and the distribution of funds for Lucas's care and education. This decision was made 6 months ago, while both Robert and Maria Alvarez were in excellent health and sound mind, and was witnessed by 3 independent attorneys. The murmurs became louder, but Ella couldn't hear any of it over the roaring in her ears. $1 billion to her unborn son, with her as the guardian. She looked at Diego and watched his face transform. The pale shock turned red, then purple with rage. "This is fraud!" His voice cracked with fury. "She manipulated them. My parents would never—" "Your parents made this decision 6 months ago," Harrington interrupted calmly. "I have the original documents, along with medical records confirming they were in perfect health at the time. The decision is legally binding and irrevocable." "She's been plotting this from the beginning." Diego's control shattered completely. He lunged toward Ella, and for a terrifying moment, she thought he was going to attack her. Miguel and 2 security guards grabbed him before he could reach her. "You'll never see a penny!" Diego screamed, struggling against the men holding him. "You manipulative bitch! I'll take that baby from you! I'll destroy you! You're dead! You and that bastard child are dead!" Ella's mother wrapped her arms around her daughter while her father moved to shield them both. Sophia was crying, holding on to Ella's hand like a lifeline. Security began dragging Diego toward the exit, but he fought them every step, his voice echoing through the cathedral. "I'm coming for my son, and when I do, you'll wish you'd never been born. You hear me, Ella? You're dead!" The cathedral erupted in chaos. People were shouting, crying, pulling out phones, trying to put together a story from the little they heard. "We need to go," Miguel said urgently. "Right now." He and Sophia helped Ella to her feet. Her legs felt like water. Her mind couldn't catch up with what had just happened. One moment, she was signing divorce papers. Next, she was the guardian of $1 billion fortune. And Diego had threatened to kill her and her baby in front of hundreds of witnesses. They rushed toward a side exit, her father and Miguel flanking her protectively. Behind them, Ella could still hear Diego screaming threats as security forced him outside. Their car was waiting in a secure area. Miguel practically carried Ella to it while Sophia climbed in beside her. The moment the doors closed, Ella started shaking uncontrollably. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why would they? I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "We know, mija," her mother soothed, stroking her hair. "We know. Diego's going to... He said he'd kill... He's not going to touch you," her father said grimly from the front seat. "I promise you that." Miguel started the car, pulling out of the secured area. They'd only gone 2 blocks when her father's phone rang. It was their head of security, Carlos, a man Ricardo had hired years ago to protect his family's properties and businesses. "Sir," Carlos's voice was tense even through the speaker. "We've detected multiple vehicles following you, at least 3, possibly more. They picked you up the moment you left the cathedral." Ella's blood ran cold. "Diego," Miguel said flatly. "Most likely. What do you want me to do?" Ricardo's face was stone. "Get us home safely. Then I want a full security detail on the house, 24/7. No one gets in or out without clearance. And Carlos, assume Diego Alvarez is dangerous." "Already on it, sir." Miguel's hands tightened on the wheel. "He mobilized people that fast?" "He planned this," Sophia said, her voice shaking. "The divorce, the timing. He planned all of it. He must have known about the will." "Then why go through with it?" Ella asked. "If he knew I'd get the inheritance?" "Because he didn't think your son would get the inheritance," Miguel said. The pieces fell into place, and Ella felt sick. Through the rear window, Ella could see the vehicles following them. Dark SUVs, professional drivers, keeping a consistent distance, watching, waiting. The war had begun before she'd even had a chance to process what had just happened. And as her son kicked inside her belly, the son who'd just inherited $1 billion empire, Ella realized with terrible clarity this was only the beginning. Diego's threats weren't empty, and she was going to have to fight for her life. The Ramirez family home had been transformed into a fortress. 2 days after the funeral, Ella stood at her childhood bedroom window, watching security guards patrol the perimeter. Cameras had been installed at every entrance. Motion sensors lit up the gardens. Her father had even hired Carlos to bring in additional personnel. Ex-military, all of them, trained to handle serious threats. The vehicles that had followed them from the cathedral hadn't stopped. Different cars, different drivers, but always there, watching the house, following Sophia when she went to the pharmacy, sitting outside Miguel's apartment building for hours. Diego was making sure they knew. He was watching, waiting. Miguel had taken a leave of absence from his job to coordinate security. He'd set up a command center in their father's study, complete with monitors showing feeds from every camera. He barely slept, running on coffee and protective fury. Sophia had moved into Ella's room, sleeping in the twin bed that had been there since they were teenagers. She was terrified to leave Ella alone, even for a moment. "What if Diego sends someone?" Sophia whispered one night, staring at the ceiling. "What if they get past security?" "They won't," Ella said, trying to sound confident, but her hand stayed protectively on her belly, feeling Lucas kick and roll, unaware of the danger surrounding him. During the day, lawyers came and went. The Alvarez family attorney, Edmund Harrington, walked Ella through the intricacies of the trust, the businesses she now controlled, and the staggering amount of money that was technically hers to manage until Lucas turned 25. "You understand," Harrington explained, "that Diego will challenge this. He'll claim undue influence, mental incompetence, fraud, anything he can think of. But the will is airtight. Robert and Maria were very thorough." "Why?" Ella asked. "Why didn't they trust their own son?" Harrington's expression was sad. "Because they watched him destroy 5 businesses through arrogance and substance abuse. Because they saw how he treated you. Because they knew that if Diego got control of this money, there'd be nothing left for their grandson." He paused. "They loved their son, but they didn't trust him. There's a difference." At night, Ella lay awake, feeling Lucas move inside her, trying to process how her life had shattered and reformed in the span of one funeral. Divorced, threatened, wealthy beyond imagination, terrified, and so alone. Which is why when Liam Carter reached out, 3 days later, part of her wanted desperately to believe he could be a lifeline. The text came while Ella was having breakfast with Sophia. "Ella, I heard what happened at the funeral. I'm so sorry. I know your parents never approved of me, but I never stopped caring about you. Please, let me help." Sophia saw Ella's face change as she read it. "Who is it?" "Liam." "Liam? As in Liam Carter? The ex-boyfriend Liam?" Sophia's voice rose. "Ella, you can't be serious. He's just offering support. He heard about the money." Sophia stood abruptly. "That's what this is. Mama, Papa." Within minutes, the entire family was gathered in the living room, and Ella felt like she was 18 again, being interrogated about her choices. Her mother was livid. "Absolutely not. That vulture heard about the inheritance, and he's circling back." "You don't know that. We know exactly that." Her father's voice was sharp. "Mija, 3 years ago, we begged you not to trust him. We forced you to marry Diego to save you from that con artist." "And look how that turned out," Ella's voice cracked. "You were so sure Diego was the right choice, that Liam would ruin me. But Diego is the one who threatened to kill me and my baby in a cathedral. So, forgive me if I don't trust your judgment anymore." The silence that followed was heavy with guilt and anger. Carmen's eyes filled with tears. "We made a mistake with Diego. We admit that. But Mija, Liam is dangerous in a different way. He's a manipulator, a user. And now you're holding a $1 billion inheritance. Maybe he actually cares about me," Ella said quietly. Something Diego never did. Maybe he heard what happened and wants to help because he still has feelings for me. Is that so impossible? Miguel, who'd been watching this exchange with growing concern, finally spoke. If you're going to see him, I'm having him investigated, thoroughly, every aspect of his life for the past 3 years, and he's never alone with you. Ever. Miguel, those are the conditions, Ella. Non-negotiable. His voice was firm. You want to see Liam? Fine, but he gets a full background check, and someone from this family is present at all times. If he's genuine, he'll understand. If he objects... Miguel let the implication hang. Ricardo nodded. Agreed. I'll have our PI start immediately. Carlos will assign someone to shadow him whenever he's near this house. Sophia touched Ella's arm. Ella, I know you're lonely, but Papa and Mama might be right about this. The timing is suspicious. Ella wanted to argue, but she was too exhausted. Fine. Investigate him. Have security follow him. But I'm not cutting him off just because you're all paranoid. Her mother looked like she wanted to say more, but Ricardo put a hand on her shoulder, shaking his head slightly. The next day, Liam came to visit. Miguel answered the door, his presence alone a clear message. I'm watching you. Liam looked older than Ella remembered, lines around his eyes, his hair a bit longer. But his smile was the same, warm and genuine, and when he saw Ella, his expression melted into concern. Ella, God, I'm so sorry about everything. He moved to hug her, but Miguel stepped between them. Let's keep things appropriate. Liam raised his hands. Of course, I understand. He looked at Ella. Can we talk? They sat in the living room, Ella on the couch, Liam in an armchair, and Miguel positioned near the door like a sentinel. Sophia brought tea, then settled nearby, not even pretending she wasn't monitoring every word. I saw the news, Liam said. What Diego did at the funeral. Ella, that was horrific. No one should have to go through that. Thank you, Ella said quietly, and I know your family has every reason not to trust me. I wasn't in a good place 3 years ago. I was directionless, immature, probably exactly what your parents thought I was. He met Miguel's eyes directly. But I've changed. I have a steady job now. I've been in therapy. And when I saw what happened to Ella, I couldn't not reach out. Miguel's expression remained skeptical. What job? I'm in sales. Software solutions. It's not glamorous, but it's stable. Liam pulled out a business card, handing it to Miguel. You can verify everything. Call my employer. Check my employment history. Whatever you need. Miguel pocketed the card. I will. I'd expect nothing less. Liam turned back to Ella. I'm not here to complicate your life. I just want to help. If you need someone to talk to, someone to go to doctor's appointments with you, someone to just be there, I'm offering. Ella felt tears prick her eyes. When was the last time someone had offered to help without demanding something in return? That's kind of you, she said softly. Over the next 3 weeks, Liam proved himself in small, consistent ways. He came to doctor's appointments, always with Miguel or Sophia present. He brought meals when Ella was too exhausted to eat. He rubbed her swollen feet while Sophia sat nearby, watching like a hawk. He talked about the baby with genuine excitement, asking questions about names and nursery colors and what kind of father figure he could be. And crucially, he never asked about money, never tried to get Ella alone, never pushed for anything physical or romantic. The restraint actually made Ella trust him more. Maybe he really has changed, Sophia admitted one evening after Liam had left. She'd just watched him spend 2 hours assembling a crib without complaint, chatting easily with Miguel about sports while he worked. Even Miguel seemed to be softening. The PI hasn't found anything alarming yet. Steady employment for 18 months, pays his bills on time, no criminal record. But their parents remained adamant. One afternoon, when Liam was gone and the siblings were out running errands, Carmen cornered Ella in the kitchen. Mija, you didn't listen to us about Liam before, and it pushed you into a terrible marriage. Please, please listen now. Her mother's voice was desperate. That man is dangerous. He's been nothing but helpful. Because he wants something. Men like him always want something. Carmen gripped Ella's hands. I know Diego hurt you. I know we were wrong about him. But that doesn't mean we're wrong about Liam. Please don't make the same mistake twice. Ella pulled away. Maybe I need to make my own mistakes. Maybe I need to trust my own judgment for once. Her mother's face crumpled, but Ella walked away before she could respond. What none of them noticed, what even Miguel's careful surveillance didn't catch, was that Diego had gone strategically quiet. No direct contact, no phone calls or messages, no legal filings yet, just watching. Carlos reported it during the weekly security briefing. We keep spotting surveillance, different vehicles, different people, but it's systematic. Someone followed Sofia to the grocery store yesterday. A car sat outside Miguel's apartment for 6 hours last Tuesday. They're watching all of you. Diego, Ricardo said grimly. Most likely, but he's being careful. Never the same car twice. Never close enough for us to get good photos. Whoever he hired knows what they're doing. Miguel leaned back in his chair, troubled. He's planning something. This silence isn't surrender. It's preparation. For what? Sofia asked. I don't know, but I don't like it. 2 weeks before Ella's due date, she finished her shopping early. She'd been at a baby boutique with Sofia, picking up last-minute items. Onesies, blankets, the tiny socks that made her want to cry because they were so impossibly small. But she'd gotten tired quickly, her back aching, her feet swollen, so Sofia had driven her home while Miguel stayed to handle the rest of the shopping. I'll be fine, Ella insisted when Sofia offered to come inside. Liam's here. He's helping set up the nursery with Papa. Sofia hesitated. You're sure? I'm sure. Go help Miguel. I'll see you at dinner. Ella waddled inside. There was no other word for how she moved now, 8.5 months pregnant, and heard voices upstairs, her father's deep rumble and Liam's lighter tone discussing furniture placement. She smiled. See? Liam was integrating into the family. Her parents were wrong about him. She set down her shopping bags in the entry hall and headed toward the kitchen for water. That's when she heard it, Liam's voice, but different. Coming from the guest room, not the nursery. He was on the phone. Baby, I told you, this is just business. Ella froze. Liam laughed. Do you think I'd actually want to raise another man's kid? Come on. Diego's paying me $2 million once I get her to sign the custody agreement and give me access to her company accounts. We're set. Just a few more weeks of playing the devoted boyfriend, and we're done. The world tilted. Ella's hand flew to her mouth, stifling the sound that wanted to escape. Her vision blurred. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Diego was paying him. This whole time. She trusts me now, Liam continued. Even the brothers starting to come around. They're so desperate for someone to not be a threat that they're ignoring all the red flags. Another laugh. Her parents were right about me 3 years ago. Should have listened to them. Ella's shopping bags hit the floor with a crash. The sound echoed through the house. Upstairs, her father called out, Ella, are you home already? But Ella couldn't respond. She stood frozen, staring at the guest room door as it opened, and Liam appeared, phone still in his hand. His face went pale. Ella, get out. Her voice was barely a whisper. Wait, let me explain. Get out! The scream tore from her throat, raw and broken. You're working with Diego. Her father appeared at the top of the stairs. What's going on? He's working with Diego. Ella pointed at Liam with a shaking hand. He's been paid to manipulate me. It's all been a lie. Liam raised his hands. Ella, please, just listen. How long? Her voice cracked. Since before you contacted me? Since before the funeral? His silence was answer enough. Ricardo was already on the phone. Carlos, I need you here now. We have a situation. Ella, I can explain. Liam took a step toward her. Don't touch me. Ella backed away, and that's when she felt it. A sharp pain, low in her abdomen, then warmth, spreading down her legs. She looked down and saw water pooling at her feet. Her water had broken. Oh, God, she whispered. Ricardo's eyes went wide. Ella! Another contraction hit, stronger than the first, and Ella doubled over with a cry of pain. Liam stood there, frozen, useless, exactly what her parents had always said he was. Miguel! Ricardo shouted into his phone. Get home now. Ella's in labor. Sophia's car screeched into the driveway. She'd turned around when Miguel called her, some instinct telling her something was wrong. She burst through the door, took one look at the scene, Liam backing toward the exit, Ella hunched over in pain, water on the floor, and understood immediately. You bastard, Sophia hissed at Liam. Get out, now. I'm sorry, Liam said, and maybe some part of him meant it. I'm sorry, Ella. You're sorry? Ella's voice was ragged with pain and betrayal. My parents were right. They were right about you all along, and I let you in. I trusted you. I defended you against them. Another contraction hit. Ella cried out, gripping Sophia's arm. Carlos and 2 security guards arrived, physically escorting Liam out while he half-heartedly protested. The restraining order paperwork was already being filed by the family's lawyer. Miguel had thought ahead, keeping documents ready just in case. But Ella barely registered any of it. The physical pain of labor mixed with the emotional devastation of betrayal, and she couldn't tell which hurt more. Her mother appeared. She'd been in the garden and went pale at the scene. The hospital. We need to get her to the hospital now. My bag, Ella gasped. The nursery. I've got it, Sophia said, already moving. They rushed her to the car, Carmen and Ricardo supporting her on either side, while Miguel drove with the kind of focused intensity that came from protective fury. He's dead, Miguel said quietly as they sped toward the hospital. Diego, for what he did, he's dead. Miguel, their father started. I don't care. He orchestrated this. He sent that parasite to hurt her, and now she's in labor because of the stress. Miguel's hands were white-knuckled on the steering wheel. He wanted to destroy her. He's about to find out what it means when you hurt a Ramirez. Another contraction hit, and Ella screamed. Focus on breathing, mija, Carmen soothed, stroking her hair. We're almost there. But through the pain, through the betrayal, through everything, Ella felt something else. Rage. Diego had sent Liam to manipulate her, had paid him $2 million to gain her trust, to document her instability, to help build a custody case, had counted on her being weak, broken, easy to destroy. He'd underestimated her. Mama, Ella gasped between contractions. You were right. About Liam. About everything. Carmen's tears fell onto Ella's hair. I wish I'd been wrong, mija. I wish we'd been wrong about all of it. But you weren't. Ella gripped her mother's hand. And I should have listened. The hospital came into view, and as the car pulled up, the hospital staff rushed out with a wheelchair. Nurses moved efficiently around Ella as another contraction hit, this one harder than the last. She gripped the bed rails, her knuckles white, trying to remember the breathing exercises from the classes she'd taken with Sophia. But all she could think about was Liam's voice. Diego's paying me $2 million. Breathe, mija, Carmen coached, one hand on Ella's shoulder. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Sophia held Ella's other hand, her face streaked with tears. You're doing so good, so good. How far apart are the contractions? The nurse asked. 3 minutes, Carmen answered. She'd been timing them since they arrived. Good, we're getting close. The nurse checked the monitors, making notes. The doctor will be here soon. Miguel paced outside the room like a caged animal, his phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what strings you have to pull. I want that restraining order filed within the hour. Yes, Liam Carter, and add Diego Alvarez to it while you're at it. Upgrade the existing one to include the hospital. Ricardo stood beside him, his own phone active. Carlos, I want 2 guards on Ella's room. No one gets in without family approval. I don't care if they claim to be hospital staff. You verify every single person. Already posted, sir, and I've got teams monitoring all entrances. Good, because if Diego tries... Sir? Carlos interrupted. Diego's already here. Miguel's head snapped up. What? He arrived 10 minutes ago. Tried to get past security at the main entrance, claiming parental rights. We stopped him, but he's making a scene. Miguel was already moving. Where? Main lobby. But sir, the police are... Miguel didn't wait to hear the rest. He stormed toward the elevator, Ricardo close behind. They found Diego in the main lobby, surrounded by hospital security and 2 police officers. He was shouting, his face red, his expensive suit rumpled like he'd been wearing it for days. That's my son being born in there. I have rights. You can't keep me from my own child. Sir, you need to calm down, one of the officers started. I will not calm down. My ex-wife is up there probably poisoning my son against me before he's even born. Miguel stepped forward, his voice deadly calm. You're not going anywhere near her. Diego's eyes locked onto him. The protective brother. How noble. Tell me, Miguel, did you know your sister was fucking her ex-boyfriend during her marriage to me? Miguel's fist connected with Diego's jaw before anyone could stop him. Diego stumbled back, and chaos erupted. The police grabbed Miguel, pulling him away, while Diego touched his split lip, blood on his fingers. You saw that! Diego shouted, pointing. Assault! I'm pressing charges. You threatened my sister's life at your parents' funeral, Miguel snarled, straining against the officers holding him. In front of hundreds of witnesses. You want to talk about charges? Ricardo stepped between them, his voice authoritative. Officers, my son was defending his family. Diego Alvarez has made repeated threats against my daughter's life. We have restraining orders being filed as we speak. One of the officers checked his radio, then nodded. Mr. Alvarez, we're going to need you to leave the premises. There's a restraining order in effect. That's impossible, Emergency filing, sir. The judge approved it minutes ago. The officer's tone made it clear this wasn't negotiable. You need to leave, now. Diego's expression twisted into something ugly. This isn't over. That baby is mine. The money attached to him is mine, and I will take both no matter what it takes. He looked directly at Miguel. Tell your sister, tell Ella, I'm coming for my son, and nothing you do will stop me. As the police escorted Diego out, he shouted back one more thing. She's unfit. Everyone will know the truth by morning. Everyone! Miguel pulled free from the officers, breathing hard. What does he mean by that? Ricardo's phone buzzed. Then Miguel's. Then Carlos's. Sir, Carlos said quietly, showing Ricardo his screen. He scheduled a press conference. It starts in 20 minutes. Upstairs, Ella was in too much pain to care about Diego or press conferences or anything except the fact that her body was trying to tear itself in half. Almost there, the doctor said, positioned at the end of the bed. One more. Big push, Ella. You can do this. I can't, Ella gasped. Yes, you can, Sophia said fiercely, gripping her hand. You're the strongest person I know. You can do this. Carmen wiped the sweat from Ella's forehead. Push, mija. Show that bastard Diego that you're stronger than anything he throws at you. Ella pushed, and He's here, the doctor announced. It's a boy. The sound that filled the room was the most beautiful thing Ella had ever heard. Her son, crying, alive, real. They placed him on her chest, still covered in vernix, his tiny face scrunched up and furious at being thrust into the world. Ella's hands shook as she touched him, counted his fingers, stared at the perfect little person she'd carried for 9 months. "Lucas," she whispered, "mi amor, mi vida." Sophia was openly sobbing. Carmen had tears streaming down her face. For just a moment, everything else faded away. Diego, Liam, the billion-dollar inheritance, the threats, none of it mattered. There was only this, her son, alive and healthy, and hers. A nurse took Lucas to clean him up and do the standard checks. "He's perfect," she announced. 8 pounds, 6 ounces, 21 inches. All his scores are excellent. When they brought him back, wrapped in a blue blanket, Ella held him close and made a silent promise. "I will protect you from your father. I will give you the life you deserve. I will make sure you grow up knowing you are loved." Miguel and Ricardo appeared in the doorway, and the expression on Miguel's face made Ella's stomach drop. "What happened?" "Diego was here," Miguel said carefully. "We got him removed. Restraining order is in effect. He can't come within 500 feet of you or Lucas." "But—" Ella could hear the unspoken word. Miguel exchanged a glance with their father. "He scheduled a press conference. It's happening now." "Get your laptop," Ella said to Sophia. "I want to see what he's saying." "Ella, you just gave birth." "Now, Sophia." Sophia reluctantly pulled out her tablet and navigated to a news site that was live streaming the press conference. Diego stood in front of a wall of microphones, looking like the grieving son and wronged husband. His lip was swollen from Miguel's punch, which actually played in his favor. He looked like the victim. "I'm here today to address the disturbing events surrounding my parents' tragic death," Diego began, his voice carefully controlled, "and to reveal the truth about a woman who manipulated her way into my family and stole my inheritance." Ella's blood ran cold. "Ella Ramirez entered into an arranged marriage with me 3 years ago," Diego continued. "During our marriage, she maintained an ongoing affair with her ex-boyfriend, Liam Carter. When my parents discovered this affair, she manipulated them, elderly, grieving people, into changing their will to cut me out of my rightful inheritance." "That's a lie," Sophia breathed. On screen, Diego pulled out documents. "I have evidence. Text. Messages between Ella and Liam during our marriage." He held them up for the cameras. "Photos of them together." More papers. "Witness statements confirming they maintained contact throughout our marriage." "Those are fake," Ella said, but her voice shook. "He's fabricating." "In the months before my parents' deaths," Diego continued, "Ella visited them frequently. She claimed to be helping them, bringing them dinner, keeping them company. But what she was really doing was planting seeds of doubt about me, telling them I was irresponsible, unstable, unfit to manage the family business." He paused, letting the cameras capture his pain. "My parents were vulnerable. They were getting older, dealing with health issues. They were in perfect health," Carmen hissed at the screen. "The will specifically states that." And Ella took advantage of that vulnerability. She convinced them to leave their entire fortune, over $1 billion, to her unborn child, with her as the sole trustee, effectively giving her control of everything my parents built over 40 years. Diego's voice broke, a perfect performance of grief and betrayal. Today, that child was born, my son, Lucas, and I haven't been allowed to see him. I've been barred from the hospital by Ella's family, who have made it clear they intend to keep me from my own child. He looked directly into the camera. I'm speaking out because the public needs to know the truth. Ella Ramirez is not the victim she's portrayed herself as. She's a manipulator who seduced dying elderly people and committed parental alienation before my son was even born. And I will fight with everything I have to protect Lucas from her influence. The press erupted with questions, but Diego walked away, his message delivered. The tablet screen went dark. The hospital room was silent except for Lucas's soft breathing. Then Ella's phone started buzzing, and buzzing, and buzzing. Sophia picked it up, her face going pale as she scrolled through notifications. Ella, the story's everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, news sites. It's trending. Miguel's phone rang. He answered, listened, then closed his eyes. That was Maria, from your company. She's fielding calls from clients wanting to cancel contracts. How many? Ella asked quietly. 12, so far. Ricardo's phone buzzed with a text. He read it, then looked at Ella with concern. Our lawyer says Diego's legal team filed for emergency custody. There's a hearing scheduled for 3 days from now. 3 days? Carmen's voice rose. She just gave birth. He fast-tracked it through Judge Morrison. They went to law school together. Ricardo's expression was grim. He's calling in favors. Ella stared down at Lucas, sleeping peacefully in her arms, completely unaware that his father was systematically destroying his mother's life. He's not going to stop, she said softly. Is he? No, Miguel said. He's not. Sophia was still scrolling through Ella's phone, and suddenly she stopped, her face draining of color. Ella, there's more. What could possibly be worse? Someone tried to hack into your company's servers. Your IT department caught it, but Sophia looked up, her eyes wide with fear. Diego's not just attacking your reputation. He's going after your business, your finances, everything. He's trying to bankrupt me, Ella said slowly. If I lose my company, if my finances collapse, he can argue I can't provide for Lucas, can't manage the trust, that I'm unfit. It's a coordinated attack, Ricardo said, his voice hard. The press conference, the custody hearing, the hacking attempt. He planned all of this, probably weeks ago. Before the funeral, Miguel added. This is why he was so calm that day, why he had the divorce papers ready. He'd already built his strategy. Carmen gripped Ella's shoulder. What do we do? Ella looked at her family, her mother's fierce protectiveness, her father's strategic mind, Miguel's barely contained rage, Sophia's unwavering support. Then she looked down at Lucas, her son, the reason Diego was doing all of this. Not because he loved him, but because Lucas represented $1 billion. We fight back, Ella said quietly. We find our own lawyer, someone better than whoever Diego hired. We document everything, the threats, the manipulation, Liam's recorded confession about being paid. We shore up my company, protect my finances, and we build a case that shows exactly what Diego is. A dangerous, manipulative man who shouldn't be anywhere near a child. That's going to take time, Ricardo warned, and resources. Diego has both. Then we move fast, and we will be smarter. Ella's voice grew stronger. He thinks I'm weak, that I'll crumble under pressure, that I'll give up custody to make the nightmare stop. She looked at each of them in turn. He's about to find out he's wrong. Miguel smiled grimly. There's the sister I know. But first, Carmen said practically, you need to rest. You just gave birth. Your body needs... My body needs to be ready for war, Ella interrupted. Because that's what this is, Mama. War. And I don't intend to lose. Lucas stirred in her arms, making a small sound. Ella adjusted him, marveling at how something so small could be the center of such a massive storm. He's beautiful, Sophia whispered, touching Lucas's tiny hand. He's ours, Ella corrected. Ours to protect. And no one, not Diego, not his lawyers, not the entire media, is going to take him from us. Outside the hospital room, Carlos appeared, his expression troubled. Sir, he said to Ricardo, we have a problem. What now? There are reporters outside, at least 20 of them, maybe more. They're trying to get into the maternity ward to get photos of the baby. Security's holding them off, but he hesitated. They're offering hospital staff money for information, for photos, for anything. Miguel swore. Diego sent them. Probably. What do you want me to, do? Ricardo looked at Ella, then at his grandson. Lock it down. No one gets in or out without verification. I don't care if we have to hire every security guard in the city. This floor is now a fortress. Done. As Carlos left to coordinate, Sophia's tablet buzzed with a news alert. She read it, then looked up, her expression caught between anger and disbelief. Diego just filed another lawsuit against you, Ella. He's suing for defamation, claiming you're spreading lies about him to the media. I haven't said anything to the media. He's preempting you, Ricardo realized. If you try to defend yourself publicly now, he can claim it's retaliatory. He's boxing you in. Ella felt the walls closing in. Her reputation was destroyed. Her business is under attack. A custody hearing in 3 days. Lawsuits, media siege, financial sabotage. Diego was doing exactly what he'd promised at the funeral, destroying her. But as she held Lucas close, feeling his heartbeat against her chest, Ella made a decision. She would not break. She would not surrender. She would fight Diego with every resource she had, every ally she could find, every ounce of strength in her body. Because this wasn't just about her anymore. This was about her son, and she would protect him with her life. Call Edmund Harrington, she told her father, the Alvarez family lawyer. Tell him I need to speak with him as soon as possible about the trust, about my legal options, about everything. Ella, and call Maria at my company. Tell her to hold off any clients who want to cancel. Tell them I'll personally reach out within 48 hours to address concerns. Miguel was already taking notes. What else? Find out who Diego's using for his PR. I want to know their strategy, their next moves. If he's playing dirty, I need to know how dirty. Sophia squeezed her hand. You just gave birth. Maybe we should... There's a custody hearing in 3 days, Sophia. I don't have time to rest. Ella's voice was steel wrapped in exhaustion. Diego wants a war. He's going to get one. But he's going to find out that I'm not the woman he married anymore. That woman let herself be pushed into an arranged marriage. Let herself be treated like property. She looked down at Lucas. But I'm a mother now, and there's nothing more dangerous than a mother protecting her child. The room fell silent until Ricardo's phone rang. He answered, listened, then his expression hardened. I see... Yes, thank you for the heads up. He hung up and looked at Ella. That was Judge Morrison's clerk, someone we know. Diego's legal team just submitted a petition to freeze the trust assets pending the custody hearing. They're claiming you're mismanaging the funds. I haven't touched the funds, Ella protested. Lucas is 3 hours old. They don't care about facts. They care about creating chaos. Ricardo's voice was hard. They want you to be overwhelmed, making mistakes, looking unstable. That's the whole point. Sophia started crying quietly. This is too much. How are we supposed to fight all of this? One battle at a time, Carmen said, though her own voice shook. We take it one battle at a time. 3 days after Lucas's birth, Ella's company lost its first major client. TechVision Solutions, a Fortune 500 company she'd landed after months of negotiations, sent a terse email. Due to recent developments and concerns about leadership stability, we are terminating our contract effective immediately. By the end of the week, 12 more had followed. Ella sat in her childhood bedroom, now converted into a makeshift nursery, watching Lucas sleep in his bassinet while her laptop screen displayed one cancellation email after another. Each one felt like a physical blow. Sophia appeared in the doorway with coffee and dark circles under her eyes. She'd moved into Ella's room, taking the night shifts, so Ella could at least get a few hours of broken sleep between feedings. Another one? Sophia asked, seeing Ella's face. Arl and Webb, they're citing reputational concerns. Ella's voice was hollow. That's 15 clients in 5 days. Diego's PR firm is good. Diego's PR firm is destroying me. Ella closed the laptop before she could see any more damage. And the custody hearing is in 9 days. Downstairs, Miguel was in the study with 3 lawyers building their defense. Ricardo had hired the best family law attorney in the city, Patricia Kemp, known for her ruthlessness in high-stakes custody cases. But even she looked concerned when she reviewed Diego's filings. "He's painting a comprehensive picture of instability," Patricia had said during their last meeting. "The affair allegations, the manipulation of his parents, your collapsing business, your pursuit of multiple men. Individually, none of it would be damning. Together, it creates a narrative." "A false narrative," Ella had protested. "Facts don't matter as much as perception in family court. And right now, the perception is that you're a gold digger who's in over her head." That conversation haunted Ella as she tried to figure out how to salvage her company, defend herself in court, and care for a newborn all at once. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed. "You need to eat something." "I'm not hungry." "Ella, I'm losing everything, Sophia." Ella's voice cracked. "My reputation, my business, my ability to provide for Lucas. Diego's doing exactly what he said he would. He's destroying me." "Then we fight back." "With what?" "Every move I make gets twisted into evidence against me. I try to work, I'm neglecting my baby. I focus on Lucas. I'm letting my business collapse. I defend myself publicly. I'm being vindictive. There's no winning move." Sophia opened her mouth to respond, but Lucas stirred, making small sounds that would soon become full crying if he wasn't fed. Ella moved automatically, lifting him from the bassinet, settling into the nursing chair. As Lucas latched on, Ella felt the familiar mix of overwhelming love and crushing fear. How was she supposed to protect him when she couldn't even protect herself? Downstairs, the family gathered for dinner, though gathered was generous. It was more like a war council, everyone tense and exhausted. Miguel pushed food around his plate without eating. "Patricia thinks we should prepare for the worst-case scenario. Diego might get partial custody." "Over my dead body," Carmen said fiercely. Ricardo's expression was grave. "We're not giving up, but we need to be realistic. Diego has money, connections, and a PR machine that has very effectively destroyed Ella's credibility. Judge Morrison was his law school roommate. The deck is stacked against us." Ella appeared in the doorway, Lucas in her arms. Everyone fell silent. "Maybe I should just give Diego supervised visitation," she said quietly. "End this before it gets worse." "No." Miguel stood abruptly. "Absolutely not." "Miguel." "He'll never stop, Ella. You give him an inch, he'll take Lucas. He'll push for more visitation, then joint custody, then full custody. This isn't about compromise. This is about winning." "But I'm losing," Ella's voice broke. "Every day I lose more clients, more credibility, more ability to fight him. Maybe if I just—" "If you surrender now, he wins everything," Patricia interjected from the study doorway. "And he'll know exactly how to break you in the future. Every time he wants something, he'll launch a PR attack until you cave." The weight of it pressed down on Ella until she could barely breathe. Lucas squirmed in her arms, sensing her tension. Sophia took Lucas gently. "I'll put him down. You need to eat." As Sophia left, Ella sank into a chair at the table. "I don't know how to fight this." "One battle at a time," Ricardo said, though his voice lacked conviction. Then Patricia's phone buzzed. She read the message, and her expression shifted. "Actually, there might be an opportunity. The National Business Summit is this weekend. You're supposed to receive the Emerging Entrepreneur Award, the one you won before all this started." "I can't go to that," Ella said immediately. "The media will destroy me." "If you don't go, it looks like you're hiding, like Diego's accusations are true." Patricia leaned forward. "But if you go, hold your head high, accept your award with grace, it shows strength, resilience. Those are qualities judges value in custody cases." Miguel frowned. "It's also a public forum where people will tear her apart." "Maybe. Or maybe it's a chance to control the narrative for once." Patricia looked at Ella. "Your choice. But I think you should go." That's how, 3 days later, Ella found herself walking into the Grand Meridian Hotel's conference center, Miguel at her side like a bodyguard. The stares started immediately. Whispers followed her through the lobby. People turned to look, then quickly looked away. Some pulled out phones, probably texting about her presence. Ella kept her chin up, her expression neutral, even as her heart pounded. "I shouldn't have come," she whispered to Miguel. "You're already here. Might as well see it through." They found their seats in the main auditorium. The panel was already in progress. Business Ethics in the Modern Age. And that's when Ella first saw him, Adrian Bennett. He sat on the panel in an immaculate charcoal suit, his presence commanding attention even when he wasn't speaking. Mid-30s, handsome in a sharp-edged way, with the kind of intelligence that radiated from every gesture. Under different circumstances, Ella might have been impressed. But then Adrian started speaking, and she realized he was one of her tormentors. "Business ethics," Adrian said, his voice carrying clearly through the acoustics, "are about more than legal compliance. They're about integrity, about building success on a foundation of genuine value rather than manipulation." Several people in the audience nodded. "Which brings me to a cautionary tale that's very much in the news right now." Adrian's eyes scanned the audience and landed on Ella. His expression hardened. "Ms. Ramirez, since you're here, perhaps you'd like to comment." Ella's blood ran cold. Beside her, Miguel stiffened. "We're here to talk about business ethics," Adrian continued, his tone cutting. "And I think we have a perfect cautionary tale in the audience. Ms. Ramirez managed to turn a 2-year marriage into a billion-dollar inheritance. That takes a special kind of talent. Though I'm not sure ethics is the right word for it." The audience murmured. Some people laughed. Others looked uncomfortable. Ella sat frozen, face burning, as hundreds of eyes turned toward her. "Mr. Bennett," the moderator interjected weakly, "perhaps we should what? Ignore the elephant in the room?" Adrian leaned back in his chair, looking directly at Ella. "Everyone here knows the story. Arranged marriage to the heir of a billion-dollar fortune. Convenient death of the in-laws. Even more convenient, that cuts out the actual son and gives everything to the woman who married into the family just 2 years prior. If that's not a case study in questionable ethics, I don't know what is." Miguel started to stand. Ella grabbed his arm, her grip tight enough to hurt. "Don't," she hissed. "It'll make it worse." But inside, she was breaking. After everything, Diego's threats, Liam's betrayal, the media attacks, the collapsing business, to be publicly humiliated here, at an event meant to honor her actual achievements, was too much. The panel continued, but Ella heard none of it. She sat there, hands clenched in her lap, fighting back tears, while Adrian Bennett's words echoed in her mind. Special kind of talent. When the panel finally ended, Miguel guided her out of the auditorium. "We're leaving. Now." "I need to use the restroom first," Ella said, her voice barely steady. In the women's room, she stared at her reflection. Dark, circles under her eyes from sleepless nights. Her expensive dress couldn't hide the exhaustion, the defeat, the way everything was falling apart. She splashed cold water on her face, trying to compose herself. When she emerged, Adrian Bennett was in the hallway. Their eyes met, and Ella felt something snap inside her. All the humiliation, all the fear, all the rage she'd been suppressing. It crystallized into one moment of clarity. She walked directly toward him. "You don't know anything about what happened," she said, her voice low and shaking. Adrian's expression was cool, assessing. He noticed her exhaustion, the way she was gripping her purse like a lifeline, the barely controlled tremor in her hands. For just a moment, something flickered across his face. Doubt? Concern? But it vanished quickly. "I know your ex-husband's family built an empire over 3 generations, and you managed to take it in 2 years. That's what I know. His parents chose to protect their grandson from their son's incompetence." Ella's voice grew stronger, fueled by fury. They watched Diego destroy 5 businesses through drugs and arrogance. They knew he'd burn through their fortune and leave nothing for their grandchild. So they made a choice, a legal, documented choice while they were in perfect health. But sure, Mr. Bennett, believe the tabloids. Believe the man who threatened to kill me and my baby at his parents' funeral. That definitely makes you an expert on ethics. She stepped closer, and Adrian actually took a step back. You stood up there and humiliated me in front of hundreds of people based on gossip and lies. You didn't bother to check facts. You didn't question the narrative. You just saw an opportunity to feel superior and took it. Her voice was ice now. One day, you'll realize how wrong you are. And I won't forget this, Mr. Bennett. I won't forget the day you kicked me when I was already down. Because when I get back up, and I will get back up, you're going to wish you'd chosen differently. She walked away before he could respond, Miguel appearing at her side instantly. That was amazing, Miguel whispered as they headed for the exit. That was stupid, Ella said, but her hands had stopped shaking. For the first time in days, she felt something other than helpless. Behind them, Adrian stood in the hallway, staring after Ella with an expression that was difficult to read. Something about her words had landed differently than he'd expected. The way she'd looked at him, not with shame or defeat, but with fury and certainty, had shaken something loose in his assumptions. But before he could process it, his business partner Marcus appeared. That was brutal, man. Effective, but brutal. Yeah, Adrian said slowly, still looking at the exit where Ella had disappeared. The Alvarez divorce is everywhere. Good to position ourselves on the right side of it publicly. Marcus clapped him on the shoulder. Come on, there's a networking thing in Cialash. The West Ballroom. Adrian followed, but his mind kept returning to Ella's face, to the exhaustion he'd seen, to the way her hands had shaken even as her voice stayed strong. You kicked me when I was already down. He shook off the thought. The woman had manipulated elderly people and stolen $1 billion. She deserved to be held accountable. Didn't she? That evening, as Ella sat in her childhood bedroom feeding Lucas, her phone buzzed with a notification. Emergency custody filing. Diego's lawyers had submitted new evidence. They cited her aggressive confrontation with Adrian Bennett as further proof of her unstable mental state. Someone had filmed the hallway interaction and sent it to Diego's legal team. How? Ella breathed. How did they already have footage? Miguel, reading over her shoulder, swore. They had someone there, at the conference, watching you, waiting for you to do something they could use. I was set up, Ella realized. That's why Patricia suggested I go. That's why. No. Miguel's voice was firm. Patricia didn't know. This is just Diego being thorough. He has people everywhere, watching for any opportunity. Sophia appeared with more bad news. 3 more clients just canceled. They're citing the video. They say your unprofessional behavior concerns them. Ella looked down at Lucas, sleeping peacefully in her arms, and felt the walls closing in. The custody hearing was in 5 days. Her business was collapsing, and Diego was always one step ahead. That night, at 2 a.m., while Sophia was downstairs getting water and Ella was changing Lucas's diaper, she heard a sound. A soft click from downstairs. Then silence. Ella froze, Lucas in her arms. She waited, barely breathing, straining to hear. Nothing. She was being paranoid. The house was secure. Security guards were posted outside. She was safe. Then she heard Sophia scream. Ella's blood turned to ice. She grabbed her phone, dialing 911 with shaking fingers while running to her bedroom door and locking it. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. Miguel, her father, and security guards. Sophia! Miguel's voice. I'm okay, Sophia called back, but her voice was shaking. I'm okay, but... Ella waited behind her locked door, clutching Lucas, every worst-case scenario playing through her mind. Finally, Miguel knocked. Ella, open up, it's safe. She opened the door to find Miguel, her father, Carlos and two security guards in the hallway. Sophia stood with them, pale and trembling. "What happened?" Ella demanded. "Someone got past the perimeter security," Carlos said, his expression grim. "Disabled the alarm on the back door. Professional work." "They didn't take anything," Sophia said. They left something."